المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Welcome to the third lecture in the reading module. I hope that you find it useful and helpful as well. Today we are going to look at chapter 1. We are going to have a look at some reading passages and we will do some exercises together. Hopefully by the end of this lecture you will have some knowledge of some new vocabulary items. You would have guessed the meaning of those vocabulary items from the context as we explained in lecture 1 and lecture 2. In this slide we have a number of vocabulary items, very useful vocabulary items. As I said in the first lecture, they are intermediate to post-intermediate vocabulary items. So what we have to do, let's read them together first. Don't worry if you don't know the meaning of any of these words. Why? Because we are going to practice some skills that we have learned in the first and second lecture. In the first lecture, for example, we've talked about getting the meaning from context. So if you already know the meaning of vocabulary item number 1, for example, just put a check next to it, just a check mark. All right, so that means you already know the meaning of this word. If you don't worry, don't go to the dictionary, just keep reading the other vocabulary items, and we will do some exercises after that. Hopefully by the end of that exercise you would have a clear vision, a clear idea, a good idea of the meaning of this vocabulary item. All right, so first of all, let's read them one by one. As I said, if you know the meaning of this vocabulary item, put a check. If you don't worry, we will do some exercises and things will be clearer. All right, so vocabulary item number 1, first of all, we are going to read the nouns. I'm going to read the nouns for you. Number 1, curriculum. Curriculum. In each school, or for each module, there is a curriculum. All right, there is a curriculum. It includes the book, for example. The book for any module, for any course, is part of the curriculum. Then, discipline. Discipline. Well, discipline can mean different things, basically. So the first one of the meanings is that students need discipline. Students need to discipline themselves, for example. In military, or to be a member of the army, you have to have a great discipline. All right, so that gives you an idea about the meaning of this word. Another meaning of the word discipline, as I explained earlier, is a field of study. So linguistics is a discipline, psychology is a discipline, blah, 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 other disciplines. All right, drawbacks or drawback. Drawback. For any decision, for any model, there are drawbacks. There are good points, points of strength, and there are disadvantages or drawbacks. Then, effort. The word effort. Effort now is a noun, of course. It means, or before we say the meaning, you have to guess the meaning, actually. I'm going to tell you a sentence, and then you should be able to get the meaning from that sentence, or if you don't, from the exercise that we are going to do later on. So effort. To pass an exam, you have to exert an effort. All right? You have to exert effort. Then exhaustion. Exhaustion. Those people working for long hours might suffer from exhaustion. If you long for too long hours, not you, or that person who works for long hours might have exhaustion, might suffer from exhaustion. Rankings. All right, for universities, for example, there are rankings. University number 1, university number 2, university number 3. This is called a rank system or ranking. Then secondary school. In Saudi Arabia, for example, we have elementary school, intermediate school, and then secondary school. As you can see, now we did not resort to the dictionary. We did not explain the meaning or the definition of the words straight away. Just by using sentences, we can guess the meaning of the new vocabulary items. Status. All right, so in Saudi Arabia, for example, judges, professors, and doctors have high social status, for example. Officers, army officials, and officers have high social status. So that might give you an indication, that sentence. And then values. In Saudi Arabia, we are proud of our values. We have values. We always take them in mind or keep them in mind while doing anything. So we have values and we are proud of them. Okay, now the verbs. The first verb, achieve. Achieve. If you want to achieve high, you have to work hard. Okay? If you want to achieve something that is difficult, if you want to achieve a goal, if you have a goal in your mind, then you have to work hard to achieve this goal. Okay, the second verb, compare. Compare. When you have so many options, you have to compare the advantages and disadvantages in order to get the best option. So this process is called comparing, and the verb is to compare. Compare option number 1 with option number 2. The third verb, determine. All right, so you have 3 or 4 options. You have reviewed them and compared them. The next step is to decide or determine what is the best option for you. So determine. If you have options, you studied them, you reviewed them, and now you have to choose one. This process of choosing is called determining or deciding, and the verb is to decide or to determine. Reflect. All right, reflect. Reflect. An example sentence for reflect is mirrors reflect the images. All right? If you stand in front of a mirror, it will reflect your image, basically. So reflects. The mirror reflects your image. All right. Separate. Separate. All right, so for example, in schools in Saudi Arabia, boys and girls are separated. Separated. Okay, in schools they are separated. Okay, they don't study in one building, for example. They are separated. And the verb of separating is to separate. Separate. Then track. Track. Now, as a verb, of course, the word track can be a noun as well, but now it is used as a verb. Track, all right. So if you have a record of students, so you're a teacher at school, and you have good students, some, average students as well, If you keep a record of what the students did, then this is called tracking. You're tracking your students. You're tracking your students. Also, if you send something, for example, by the mail, all right, by post, then they give you a tracking number. You can track the process of delivery. Now, adjectives. The first adjective is competitive, sorry. The first adjective is competitive. Competitive. Competitive comes from the word competition. If you have competition, if you have more than one, say, group, for example, more than one group, competing over something, then the situation is competitive. The situation is competitive. Entire, entire, global, global. First of all, let me give you an example of the word entire. Okay, so if you have an educational system and you have reviewed that educational system, you either like part of it or parts of it, or you like the entire thing. So it's either part or entire thing. Global, the word global, this is in contrast to local. Local in Saudi Arabia only, global is more than that. All right, I'll continue reading the rest of the vocabulary items, and we are going to do some exercises, and then we will be able to read some example sentences and try to get the meaning from context. So now I will continue reading. Identical, we have an example for that. Identical, isolated, universal. Then expressions, in contrast to, one size fits all, on the one hand, on the other hand, then the best and the brightest. All right, now as I said, if you don't know the meaning of those words, don't worry, we're going to check that in the next exercises. Getting the meaning from context, this is what we are going to practice right now. Remember to use the clues that I explained in the first and in the second slide, in the first and the second lectures. All right, now we have this exercise, getting the meaning from context. Now let's read the example sentences. We have underlined words. Our job is to determine, is to get the meaning of those new words from the context. Let's read the first sentence. On the one hand, there are many advantages to this system. On the other hand, there are also several disadvantages. The meaning of the first one is given to us here. All right, so on the one hand, it basically means from one point of view. Then we have this view here, that there are many advantages to this system. Then we have on the other hand. So, if on the one hand means from one point of view, on the other hand means from another point of view. This is the answer to this part here. I'm using the mouse to mark on the slides, so I really cannot write using the mouse at the moment. So, but I think you can write it yourself. All right, so on the other hand means from the other point of view. of course, you can use your own words. It's fine, as long as it's correct. As long as it's correct. So on the other hand basically means from the other point of view. These expressions can be used in writing. So if you are writing something in English and you want to compare 2 points of view, you can say, on the one hand, so some people think, on the one hand, many people think that X is good. On the other hand, many others disagree and think that this X or Y is bad or detrimental. Okay, so on the one hand, state a view, and then on the other hand, state the other view. Okay, number 2. This is based on the belief that students are not born with identical ability, because they are not exactly the same. Some students will be bored, others will have difficulty. This exercise, we have done it in the previous lecture. I think it was the second or the first lecture. So the word identical basically means exactly the same, and we explained that in the previous lecture. So because we have this word is presented here in this sentence, and the meaning is embedded in another sentence, which is the second sentence here. So exactly the same means identical. All right, sentence number 3. Of course, one drawback or disadvantage is that students experience exhaustion and a great deal of stress. So the word that we want to know the meaning of is drawback. Drawback. And if you remember, one of the clues that we used to get the meaning from context is commas, punctuation marks. So because we have this word, drawback, then a word between 2 commas, that tells us that this, what is in between the 2 commas means drawback. So drawback or disadvantage. Even the this part here, or this word, tells us that they are the same, disadvantages or drawback. So drawback means disadvantage. Now some students might ask, why would I need to know 3 or more words of the same meaning, let's say? The thing is that when you write or when you speak in front of others, if you use the same word again and again and again, then your speech or your writing will be boring. That's why you need to use different words every now and then. It's really helpful. Okay, so that's number 3. We are done with it. Now let's go to number 4. In some countries, teachers have high status or social position. Here we use the same strategy that we used in sentence number 3. We have status followed by an expression between 2 commas or after a comma. We have a comma here. All right, and we have or. So that tells us that social position means status. All right, so status or social position. Let's move to number 5. In the United States, each state determines its own curriculum. The 50 states decide on their own curriculum. the 50 states decide on their own curricula. Now, notice that the plural of curriculum is curricula. All right, so the plural of curriculum is curricula. All right, the word that we want to know the meaning of is determine. Determine. If you remember in the previous lecture, we've talked about so many strategies. One of the strategies was continue reading, and the meaning of this word, determine, might be embedded in another part of the another part of the same sentence, or embedded in another sentence. So now we continue reading the second sentence, which says, the 50 states decide on their own curricula. So the second sentence here, sorry, all right, the second sentence here restated what the first sentence stated. It restates, it said it again. So each country or each state determines its own curricula. The 50 states decide on their own curricula. So this word here, decide or decide on, basically mean determines. So to determine or to decide. Okay, sentence number 6. I hope that it's clear. Number 6, each educational system is a mirror that reflects the values of its own culture. The word that we want to know the meaning of is reflects. Reflects. So you might want to use a third clue that we used in the second lecture. Then that was, or in the first lecture, I think it was the first lecture, and that is logic. Sometimes just by reading the sentence, yes, I might not know the meaning of the word reflects, but I know the meaning of the word mirror, for example. So I already know the meaning of the word mirror, and we know also what mirrors do. All right? So if X mirrors something, it reflects it. So basically, the word reflects means to mirror something as a verb or to show back. All right? So we can say mirror can be a verb. So to reflect something is to mirror it. All right. Now let's go to activity, the activity on page 6, which is the secrets of success in school. Now I want you to read that passage, and then we are going to do some exercises. I'm going to show you the passage on the slides. You can pause the video and then read the whole selection if you want, or you can use the book. It's up to you. But I'm going to show you the book right now. I'm going to show you different parts of the same passage. You can pause the video, read, and then play, and keep reading the rest of the passage. All right. So let's have a look at the passage. All right, so that's page 6. I'll have to move now to the other part just to make sure that it's well positioned. So this is the first part. If you are done with it, then you can move to the next page. Again, once you are done with this page or this part, you can move to the next one, which is paragraph C. All right, now it's well positioned. So read this part as well. When you are finished, go to the next part. Once you are done with it, read the conclusion. Okay. Now hopefully you have read the whole reading selection, and now we are ready to do the exercises on that passage. The next exercise, checking your vocabulary. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to read to you the definition and ask you to give me the word or to find a word in the passage that means blah, 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 this definition. All right, let's start with number one. We have a clue here. This definition, a situation in which people or groups are trying to be more successful than others. So when you have a situation in which people or groups try to be better than each other, this is, we call it competition, right? We have a clue, which is the paragraph here. All right, so it's in paragraph A. The first one is done for us. So let's move to the second one. Are similar to or different from. Are similar to or different from. It's in paragraph A. So let's go to paragraph A and try to find a word which means similar to or different from. So paragraph A. All right, so first of all, you have some words written in bold. Here, secondary schools, or global and competitive, and lastly, compare. So one of them means different, similar to or different from. So examine them one by one. Which one you think means similar to or different from? If you want a after each sentence or after I show you each part, you can pause the video, answer, and then check your answer with me. And the correct answer is compare. Compare means similar to or different from. Okay? Similar to or different from. Now, the second one. So, it's number 3, basically. Put students in groups or classes according to their ability or need. Now, I will have to move to the other side, just to make things easier. Okay, so I'm going to go there and read for you. So, put students in groups or classes according to their ability or need. That's in paragraph B. So let's move to paragraph B. This is paragraph B. The words here are, the words that are written in bold and in blue: track, identical, separate, and achieve. Which one of them would mean to put students into classes or groups? Now do it yourself and then check your answer with me. And the correct answer is track. Track students. How do we know this? Well, continue reading. So track, it's in the second line of this paragraph. Track students, they place them in groups or classes according to their ability or needs. How do you know that? Because this comes after a comma. All right? So that tells us the meaning of the word track. The next word, number 4. To cause people or things not to be together. Not to be together. What is that word? First of all, what paragraph is that in? That's paragraph B. So again, we examine all the words here. We examine all the words and then try to get the meaning, try to get the correct answer. The correct answer is to separate. Separate. So educators do not separate students into different groups or schools. Educators do not separate students into different groups or schools. This is the correct answer. To separate. Okay, now number 5. Work or energy. That is in paragraph C. So we go to paragraph C and then we try to look for the answer. I'll read it again. Work or energy. All right, the words here are effort, the word effort, discipline, drawback, exhaustion, and rankings. These are the words that are written in bold, and one of them is the correct answer. So, what is the correct answer? Just by reading the sentences and examining the context, the correct answer is effort. The correct answer is effort. How much effort is necessary for success in school? How hard? That gives us an indication. How hard do students need to work? So this is the correct answer. So the correct answer for number 5 is efforts. It's really important for me that you know the meaning of, that you know not only the meaning, but how you got to the meaning. So basically what we are doing is that we are using the clues that we have learned previously. Number 6, lists of people or things in order of their ability or accomplishments. So lists. And that is in paragraph C. Now let's go to paragraph C and look for a word which means lists of people or things in order of their ability or accomplishments. And the correct answer is rankings. Rankings. How do you know that? Well, let's read the context. In high school, teachers give grades, but there are no lists with rankings, no lists with rankings of students from high to low. So this is how we know that rankings means lists of people or things in order of their ability or accomplishment. Next, number 7, people who are most intelligent or who are the best at their profession, and that is paragraph D. Let's go to paragraph D. So we have status, here, the best and the brightest, in contrast to. All right, so the correct answer is the best and the brightest. And the context tells us about that. And it's basically, this is quite easy. Best. All right. Number 8, different from. That is paragraph D as well. Different from. In contrast to. This is the correct answer. In contrast to. So we read something here, and then an expression in contrast to, and then we read something different. So that tells us that in contrast to means different from. Number 9, done or experienced by everyone. Paragraph E. The words are curriculum, universal, entire, and determines. All right. So the words are curriculum, universal, entire, and determines. The correct answer is entire. Let's read the sentence from here. Students of the same age study the same subjects in the entire country. All right? Or actually, the correct answer is, sorry, it's not this one. I'm sorry, I just missed it. It's the next line. It's universal. All right, so curriculum, universal, entire, and determines. The correct answer here is universal. All right, let me just revise the definition here. All right, done or experienced by everyone. Yeah. Universal, yes. So this is the correct answer. Universal. I just missed it. It's the next line. All right. So in countries such as Finland and Korea, there is a universal curriculum. What does that mean? Students of the same age study the same subjects. So this is experienced by everyone in the entire country. In the entire country. Right? So the correct answer is universal. What does that mean? Done or experienced by everyone in the same age, in the same age group, basically. So the correct answer is universal. Next, it's whole. We've just answered that, basically. It's in the same sentence here. It's entire. Entire. Why? Because students of the same age study the same subjects in the entire country, in the whole country, in the entire country. Number 11, beliefs about what is right, what is important. And that is presented in paragraph F. Okay, so it's beliefs about what is right and what is important. This is paragraph F. The words are, or the expressions, on the one hand, one size fits all, reflects values, on the other hand, and isolated. And the correct answer is values. Values. So values basically means beliefs about what is right and what is important. And this is, of course, is culture dependent. So what is important in one country is not important in the other. All right, the last definition we have, separate or separate from others. Separate from others. It's paragraph F, the same paragraph. And the correct answer is isolated. Isolated. All right? Because no educational system is isolated from others. So it's not separate from other educational systems, because educational systems, as we read in this paragraph, are influenced by culture. Okay? Now, I hope that your answers were correct, and I'll just go back to the screen and continue with you the slides. So now we are done with with this exercise. So let's go to practice skimming for the topic and the main idea, which is another skill that we have learned together. Just a reminder, a quick reminder, the topic is a word or a noun phrase. Okay, this is what the whole paragraph is about. Then we have the main idea, which is a sentence or two, and usually this can be found at the beginning, middle, or the end of any reading selection or any paragraph. The main idea tells you what the author wants to say about the topic. It tells you what the author wants to say about the topic. Now let's practice together. Let's read this selection here, Challenges of the First Year of College. You can pause and read silently if you want, and then we are going to answer together, or I'm going to tell you the answers after you are done reading. If you want, I can read this one or the next slide for you. Okay? All right, let's read it. Charles Dickens once famously referred to a specific period of history as the best of times and the worst of times. This can also describe the college years of many students. College is a time of transition between high school and working life, between childhood and adulthood, between dependence on family and independence. Like any period of growth, the college years can be both painful and exciting. Educators have some practical advice so that students can successfully deal with their problems, and get the most out of their college experience. Now, what is that about? Definitely, it's not about sports. It's not about health, all right? It's not about magazines, for example. We know that this has something to do with college years. College years. And what is the main idea? What is the most general sentence in this paragraph that the author wants to say about the college years? Like any period of growth, the college years can be both painful and exciting. Then, if you skim the other parts, the other paragraphs in the same reading selection, you will find that the paragraphs are actually about how the college years can be painful and how it can be exciting. So this is how we knew that this is the main idea. Let me show you what I mean. Paragraph B. All right, so read this selection here. Read this selection. And I'm going to show you the answers. This is the reminder of the reading selection. So if you have read the first part, this is the second part. Please continue reading. All right. Right, so what I would do, I would stop here, okay, do the exercise, do this as homework, let's say, and then when you come in the next class, I'm going to show you how we can answer this one and what are the correct answers for this one. All right, so I think that would be enough for today. Answer this one. What is the topic and what is the main idea of this reading selection, which is paragraph B? Next week, I'm going to show you the answers. Now, I would have to skip very quickly to the end. So, oops. All right, I think that's it basically for this week. Thank you very much for your attention.